Some places are abandoned because they collapse. Others are abandoned because someone decides no one should ever go back. Across the world, there are locations that were sealed, erased, and forgotten for decades. No footsteps, no maintenance, no witnesses. And when people finally entered these places again, they didn't find ruins. They found stillness, moments frozen in time, objects left exactly where someone last touched them, and signs that whatever happened there ended suddenly. Tonight, you're about to see 5 disturbing discoveries found in places where no human had stepped foot for decades. These are not myths, not stories. These are real locations, real discoveries. And the deeper we go, the more it feels like some places aren't abandoned. They are waiting. Story number 5. The facility that never stopped listening. The facility was hidden underground, buried beneath layers of reinforced concrete and rock. No signs, no markings, no record on modern maps. The entrance was sealed with a heavy metal door, welded shut from the outside. When explorers finally forced it open, the first thing they noticed was the temperature. The air was warm. That alone made no sense. Abandoned places are cold, dead, still. This one wasn't. Deep inside the facility, a low mechanical hum echoed through the corridors. Something was still running. Power. Decades after abandonment, this place still had power. The corridors stretched farther than expected. Old warning signs lined the walls. Authorized personnel only, no unescorted access, report all irregular sounds. That last sign appeared again and again. Irregular sounds. Control rooms were filled with dust-covered desks. But the equipment was intact. Reel-to-reel machines loaded with tape. Headphones hanging from chairs. Notebooks left open, as if someone had simply stepped away. At first, the logs were technical. Routine monitoring notes. Frequency readings. Signal strength measurements. Then the language changed. The signal does not match known patterns. Source unidentified. Direction unclear. One entry stood out. The signals are not coming from outside. The next page was worse. The signals originate below the facility. A staircase led downward, much deeper than any blueprint suggested. The lower levels were colder, quieter. Sound behaved strangely there. Footsteps felt muted. Voices didn't echo properly. In one room, a single chair was bolted to the floor, facing a wall of microphones. The table in front of it was covered in deep scratches. Not random. Frantic. The last notebook was found in a sealed office. The handwriting was uneven. Shaking. We no longer log what we hear. We log when it stops. The sentence was written again and again. Silence is worse. There were no evacuation orders. No shutdown procedures. The facility was simply abandoned. Still powered. Still listening. Story number 4. The house that turned inward. From the outside, the house looked normal. Perfectly normal. That was what disturbed people the most. No broken windows. No decay. Just a quiet house at the edge of a rural town. No one had entered it since the early 1950s. Not because it was locked, but because locals refused to unlock it. When authorities finally entered, they expected damage. They found preservation. Furniture untouched. Dishes left on the table. Beds neatly made. The air felt heavy. Not stale. Heavy. Every curtain was closed. Every mirror was covered. Sheets. Blankets. Even coats nailed over reflective surfaces. Family photos lined the hallway. Every single one was turned toward the wall. When investigators turned one around, they froze. The residents stood in the doorway. But the eyes were scratched out. Carefully. Every photo showed the same damage. Every clock in the house had stopped. All at the same time. 3:17 a.m. wall clocks. Watches. Kitchen timers. As if time itself had paused. The journal was hidden under the mattress. Early entries were normal. Daily routines. Small complaints. Then the tone shifted. It reacts when I look directly. Reflections feel delayed. If I don't look, it stays farther away. The final entry was written slowly. Deliberately, I locked myself in so it couldn't lock me out. The bedroom door was locked from the outside. Inside, the wardrobe had been nailed shut. From the outside. When opened, Investigators found thousands of scratch marks. Human fingernails. No body was ever found. The house was sealed again. Story number 3. The underground hospital with no patients. Beneath a modern city, hidden behind forgotten maintenance tunnels, lies a forgotten underground hospital. Built during wartime. Designed for emergency use. Then abandoned. Sealed. Forgotten for decades. It was found by accident. Construction workers broke through a wall that shouldn't have been there. Behind it was a staircase. Down. Down. The air changed immediately. Cooler. Denser. Sound behaved strangely. Footsteps didn't echo. Voices felt distant. Like the building was absorbing sound. Hospital beds lined the corridors. Neatly spaced. Perfectly aligned. No signs of panic. No overturned equipment. Just absence. Shoes under beds. Personal items on tables. Wedding rings. Photos. Children's toys. Patient charts still attached. Every chart ended the same way. Blank. The operating rooms were the most disturbing. Tools laid out in perfect order. Gloves placed carefully on trays. No blood. No signs of surgery. As if procedures had been paused mid-process. In a staff room, a chalkboard contained one message: do not move them. Written repeatedly. In different handwriting. Like a warning. Like an order. Like a prayer. The deepest chambers were significantly colder. No power. No ventilation. Yet the temperature dropped sharply. Investigators reported headaches. Nausea. A sense of pressure. Old tape recorders were found in one room. Most were blank. One contained a short recording. Footsteps. Muffled voices. Then a pause. A whisper. They're still here. Just not like before. In the lowest chamber, beds were arranged in a circle. No charts. No names. Just beds. And beneath each bed, personal belongings. Carefully placed. As if the people who once lay there were removed gently. Respectfully. But permanently. No bodies. No records. Just absence. Authorities claimed the hospital was evacuated successfully. But there are no transportation logs. No survivor testimonies. The entrance was sealed again. The wall rebuilt. And officially, the hospital does not exist. Story number 2. The isolation station. This research station was built in one of the most remote locations on Earth. Far from civilization. Far from help. Its purpose was simple: to study isolation. Not weather. Not geology. Human isolation. Researchers were selected for psychological stability. Highly trained. Experienced. At first, reports were normal. Daily routines. Minor conflicts. Then the logs changed. Subtly. Researchers reported identical dreams. Not similar. Identical. Same locations. Same sequence. Same ending. One log reads, "We are dreaming as a group, even when asleep alone." Another, "Silence doesn't feel empty anymore." Then they began to describe a figure. Always described the same way. Tall. Motionless. Just beyond the edge of vision. No one saw it directly. But everyone described it. Independently. One log reads, "It appears more often when we are together." Clocks inside the station began to desynchronize. Each clock showed a different time. But when researchers were alone, their clocks matched real time. When they were together, time shifted. Audio recordings revealed long periods of silence. Then faint breathing. Multiple breaths. Sometimes synchronized. Sometimes not. One recording ends with a whisper, "It doesn't like it when we separate." The final written log was found in the main lab. Written calmly. Too calmly. "We believed isolation would break us. We were wrong. Togetherness is what invited it. If you are reading this, do not stay. It knows when you are alone." That was the last communication. When a recovery team arrived over a decade later, everything was intact. Food supplies untouched. Beds made. Personal items neatly arranged. No bodies. But all reflective surfaces had been removed. Mirrors. Glass. Polished metal. Everything that could show a reflection was gone. The station was dismantled. Official cause: environmental failure. The logs were classified. Story number 1. The room outside of time. The final discovery is the most unsettling of all. Not because it was remote. Not because it was abandoned for decades. But because it didn't belong in the building it was found in. It was a room that should not exist. During renovation of an old institutional building abandoned since the 1940s, workers noticed something wrong. Measurements didn't match. Hallways ended too early. Then they found the wall. A wall that wasn't on any blueprint. Behind it was a room. Small. No windows. No ventilation. No obvious purpose. Inside were chairs. Dozens of them. Arranged in rows. All facing the same wall. That wall was covered in deep scratch marks. Tallies. Thousands of them. Layered over each other. As if someone had been counting time. Sound tests showed the room did not echo normally. Sounds returned altered. Lower. Slower. Delayed. As if the room was responding after thinking. Whispers returned as whispers that weren't spoken. Among the dust-covered chairs, investigators found a modern wristwatch. Not old. Not damaged. Manufactured decades after the building was sealed. The watch had stopped. Time of last movement? 2 weeks before the wall was opened. Radiation tests were normal. Air quality was normal. But timekeeping devices behaved inconsistently inside the room. Mechanical watches slowed. Digital devices desynced. Phones lost signal instantly. One investigator said, "It feels like time is thicker in here." The room was photographed once. Measured once. Then sealed again. Not demolished. Not documented. Just closed. Officially, the room does not exist. Outro plus CTA. Some places don't rot. They don't crumble. They don't disappear. They wait. Waiting for curiosity. Waiting for footsteps. Waiting for someone to open the door again. If this video stayed with you longer than you expected, if it made you feel uncomfortable in a way you can't explain, white right pointing backhand index, leave a like. It helps the channel grow. White right pointing backhand index, subscribe for more disturbing discoveries and forgotten places. And turn on notifications, because the next place we explore might still be waiting. Now tell me in the comments, which discovery disturbed you the most? Because some doors aren't locked to keep people out. They're locked to keep something in.